Illuminate Files. Basically, Cloverfield the book and monsters are now zombies in space. Space zombies. Because normal zombies just were not cool enough. We've moved past that now. And now it's done in the best way possible, to our own luck. So before we do the actual review, let's do a short summary. Basically, it all starts off in the Carenza colony. I don't know how you're supposed to say that. I don't care how you think you're supposed to say that. But you've heard of Big Bertha, right? Imagine that, but there's a bunch of them in space, and it's for money. Intergalactic oil monopolies, am I right? Anyways, we have our main characters and lovebirds, because this book has to have some cheesy romance in it. Basically, our main character is Katie. Side character, also main character, is Ezra. And, yeah, well, they just broke up. Off to a great start. And then, whoa, it's the US military. No, that's just some other military force that's coming and going to take the oil by killing innocent civilians. My bad, that's an easy mistake to make. Anyways, Bitech, the military and other intergalactic oil company, if you can't tell, they're the bad guys in this story, and Krenzic Colony, who I think you probably at this point know are the good guys in the story, are now in a hot battle. Some of the Carenza ships arrive, but it's not enough, and it's not soon enough, and Bitech launches some weird goo, presumably just peeing on all the civilians.
During the attack on the Carenza colony, a distress signal went out to all surrounding ships in the area, and the Alexander was the first responder. And then after it came the Hypatia and the Copernicus. Ezra ended up on the Alexander, Katie ended up on the Hypatia, and her mom ended up on the Copernicus. But they don't get away scot-free, because Bitech sent their own ship, the Lincoln, to chase after them. So, basically, throughout the entire book, there's a Fast and Furious chase. But that's not all. Now that Ezra and Katie have iPads, they can text each other, love heart emojis from ship to ship. So basically, they get back together virtually. Uh, yeah, and so Katie starts to take hacking lessons from a mysterious guy who loves teasing her about being in love, and Ezra is now a pilot, very unlicensed, but who needs a license if they're in danger anyway?
And, there's also like this weird thing called an AI because it doesn't matter that that's basically just recreating consciousness and most likely is never going to be able to happen to its fullest extent. This is a sci-fi book. Reality doesn't actually exist anymore. But big surprise, given that the Alexander got absolutely crushed because it's dog water. Lincoln is faster than the Alexander at this point, which makes sense because the Alexander's dog water and just got absolutely crapped on, or my bad, peed on by the weird goo. Uh, Big surprise. But now since it's damaged, it really doesn't have many defense options. It could suicide ram with the Bitech ship with its nuclear reactor, send it to Kingdom Come, fix all its issues. Nobody's gonna be left grieving if there's nobody left, and you don't have any more enemies. Oh wait, what's that? Hold on a second. What's that? Oh yeah, that's right. People's lives matters as well. That's a dumb argument. No, they don't. Uh, but whatever. Morals apparently have some sort of influence on this story. Uh, but so instead they choose to scramble the ships. Ezra hops in his X-wing and lifts off. While the ships do a good job, the Alexander still takes a bit of damage. It is now basically confined to a wheelchair. Yeah, I just made a joke about the fact that the ship is now in a wheelchair. Get ready to deal with it. They are forced to run away again, but they have to do some expert piloting now. If I'm being honest, their escape kind of doesn't make sense because they already got damaged. I mean, so did the Lincoln as well, but it's like the Lincoln could literally just follow them. It's not like they jumped to hyperdrive or anything. It's literally just like turning and flying away. But I mean, it's one way to move the plot along.
Uh-oh, Aiden's gone rogue. So now the Alexander is being controlled by a rogue AI who claims to want nothing more than to keep them safe, but maybe a bit too much. Oh yeah, and remember the weird goo? Yeah, so that had a virus in it, and so now the virus is going around and turning people into zombies, the space zombies, and they have no plans to protect them, Plants vs Zombie style. So Aiden decides it's a good idea to open the containment doors that have all the space zombies in it, to let them all in and ravage everybody else in the ship. Yeah, he's not great at his job, but he tries. So now there's a bunch of zombies in the ship trying to kill everybody, and Ezra has to hide.
Katie gets word of this, maybe a little too late. In a slight overreaction, as we back here on Earth like to call it, uh, commits war crimes, kills people, hops into an escape ship, and goes over to a zombie ship. Why, you may ask? I don't really know why either. But being the hacker man she is, she manages to get through all the doors and just hide through with the expert guidance of Ezra, who's still presumably hiding on the toilet. Uh, and get her to the main server room to reboot the ship. And, it's actually a pretty good plan. Well, after dealing with one of the zombies and gets horribly scarred for the rest of her life after witnessing one of her friends die, the zombie, she finds out that Ezra, fun fact, is dead. Aiden has been behind the scenes the whole time trying to get her to fix the ship so he can suicide ram the Bitech ship, buying the Hypatia and the Copernicus enough time to escape. Actually, it's a pretty good plan if you ask me. But she gets pretty pissed. Don't know why either. But she has to rely on Aiden to get out of the ship, because she decides, I'm not dying for this. Uh, and after having a super close call with the zombies, she flees the facility, Henry Stickmin edition, full Henry Stickmin style as well, and lives happily ever after, because Ezra was in fact not dead. Triple bamboozled. That Mirage à Trois right there. But that's not before doing some blackmail to buy tech. Now, we did say that that's a short review. That's what the book actually is kind of like. Obviously, some over and under exaggerations here and there. I do recommend reading it. It's a great book. But I think it's time for the review. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Personally, I think that the last bit with Aiden was done really well. Like
I
the
actually liked all the Aiden bits. There was a lot of poetry,
yeah,
and
it
normally I'm not much of a poetry guy, but for some reason, it really helped the story along, I think.
I think and I think the best part was it didn't feel like a story, or it didn't feel like it was there to move the story along. It felt like it was the story in a way. Aiden was the sole observer and in a way the sole survivor of this. Everybody else got changed because of this, and Aiden only he changed but in a positive way. He realized who he was. And yeah, I'm referring to Aiden as a he because he went from just an ambient AI to a full-on character. It had great character development, and honestly, the surprises and the use of dialogue actually caught me off guard in this. Like, it was incredible. I've read very few books that have used dialogue this masterfully.
Yeah, I really do like the way that it wasn't like just complete battleship action. There was a lot of so, filler parts, but not in a bad way. There's a lot of books that have really bad, boring filler just for the sake of it to be there. But the filler in this actually had a lot of character progression, I think.
Yeah, you could not only relate and empathize with the characters, which is something I typically struggle to do in books and in media in general, but you could kind of feel the gears working in their head because you, in a way, were kind of that character. You were caught off guard by the surprises because you were going through that with the character. Uh, it it was just done incredibly. I think that the action was in a way my least favorite part, if that makes any sense. Like the battleship on battleship stuff, because it didn't fit the nitty gritty kind of minute details that this book has. This book is not complete, it's not perfect, and it focuses on being a, it's like dirty. It is files, right? It's a collection of it's basically a scrapbook that somebody found lying on the ground and decided to share with the world. It's not this not this polished thing that's meant for the public. It is something that you found and you have to uncover. And
Yeah, it really felt like by reading it, you were part of the story in a way where it's like you discovered everything that happened, and that's just really cool, I think.
yeah, I mean, I only have positive things to say about this book. I think that we both highly recommend that you go watch it. Watch it. What am I talking about? Read it. Uh, there is a sequel, or there's two sequels to it. I started to read the second book. I could not actually get through it. I did not like it. I think this book serves best as a standalone. And I think if you're gonna read this, don't bother reading the other bits. It, if anything, makes it better because it doesn't finish it. It leaves you to think about what's happening. Uh, and yeah. Thank you guys for watching, slash listening, and yeah. I mean, thank you.
All right, that's